Здравствуйте, дорогие зрители и гости моего канала. Меня зовут Юра, и мы продолжаем играть The Raven Legacy of Master Thief. В прошлой серии мы оказались все-таки на круизе в корабле. Не по собственному желанию, а потому что получили по шее. Однако выбрались из этого самого долбанного трюма. В итоге получилось так, что баронесса мертва. Непонятно, почему она умерла, непонятно, почему Ворон решил... Или это был не Ворон, это еще не доказано, кстати. Решил ее... Кто-то, в общем, кто-то решил ее замочить. Потому что уже убийства, они уже выходят за рамки кражи. Это уже мокрое дело, не знаю. Это не воровского закона. В общем, бред какой-то. Давайте возобновлять игру. Так, а что у нас тут? Хлопчик этот в эту игру умеет играть? А, да. Так, стоп. Стоп. А я не помню, чтобы я возвращался на боковую палубу. Ну, конечно же. 3.03 и 3.13. Может, возвращался, хрен возьми. Не, ну мы... Последнее это сохранение. Да, я хочу это загрузить. Но хлопца там не было в прошлый раз, поэтому... Ладно, давай... Мы остановились на том, что собирались вверх по лестнице подняться. Это последнее место, где мы можем что-то походить, посмотреть. А, раз последнее, значит последнее. Так. Ну что, куда ты пошел?
We were here yesterday when we heard the shot, and it was also here where Legrand caught our stowaway.
Чё? Всё. Так, топор, мне это интересует. Давайте.
Why is there an axe hanging here? I suppose it's for chopping through ropes in the event that the lifeboats can't be lowered. Or they use it to enforce who's allowed on the boat and who's not.
Тоже может пригодиться.
The ship's bridge. 2 men. One of them... I get the impression that the officers keep things running. It seems like the captain concentrates on the
естественно,
passengers
что экипаж управляет, а капитан, он будет решать такие административные вопросы, он как директор корабля. Так, вниз мы по лестнице не пойдем, тут мы еще не все исследовали. Так,
the grate must be part of the ship's ventilation system. Nothing out of the ordinary. The grate shouldn't be so easy to open. Did the stowaway open it and we... No. The pipe is too narrow. He wouldn't fit in there.
Нифига себе узкая. Да, таких как этот Зельнер, двоих можно поместить.
I could inform the captain that the group... But if I start reporting all the problems on the ship...
Так.
This isn't a panoramic deck for visitors. There are pipes, steel cables, chains up here. You can smell the smoke from the funnel.
А ничего, что оно как-то высоковато, блин, находится.
And I really don't care, as long as it stays afloat.
Там, походу, дизельные движки стоят, что там еще может быть. Хрен его знает. В 60 каком-то мохнатом году я сказал, шлюпку изучай. Дырявая шлюпка.
A boat like this would also make a good hideout for a stowaway. Were the tarpaulins arranged like that on purpose so that no one could put them back in order once they get in? You can tell at a glance that everything is...
Все. Блин, а я не знаю, куда дальше идти. Тут какая-то беда. Где наш капитанчик? Капитошка. С кем-то, короче, нужно еще пообщаться. Все, больше здесь. Так, стоп.
There's dirt piled up in the corner. Down below where the passengers are, the ship is pretty clean. But the crew doesn't seem to care as much up here.
Стыдно, однако. Это стыдобина. Сейчас я вам тут приду. Устрою. И грязь они мне развели на корабле. Ишь. Так, на носовой. Давай еще вернемся на кубрик. Там, может быть, что-то поменялось. На кубрике, блин, на этом. Хрена тут не поменялось. Все так же, как и было. Ладно. Го отсюда. Давайте опять обход такой сделаем вокруг. Какого хера? Что мне там делать? Давай на корабль. Давай, го-го. Не, я там, может, что-нибудь пропустил, но я не думаю, что это серьезно.
The globe nicely shows that 4/5 looking out the window. I'd call...
За информацию. Так, и компанию мы не пойдем. Там ничего. Так, еще раз попробуем накерниться вот в эту дверцу. Тихо, тихо. Ты главное входи мне. Ну дверь-то опечатана, да, я не открою явно.
I better ask Legrand. My investigations would be much.
Ладно, не будем. Так, подожди, я что-нибудь нашел вообще? Там ничего не нашел. Хожу уже здесь полчаса по этому кораблю, ничего не нашел до сих пор. Это какой-то отстой. Причем полный. Уху! А что у нас здесь? Я уже забыл. Так, стоп, а я здесь и не был. Кстати. Так, что у нас за растение? Растет какая-то гадость, посадили тут.
A pitiful attempt to make the interior of the ship seem less A bit of paint on the walls would have helped more, especially since
да нормально покрашены стены. Блин, по 100 раз нужно смотреть везде, короче.
Not only does the poor plant have to make do without sunlight, it doesn't have.
Давай, кидай назад. Почвы нету, нужно почву принести. Давай
Really?
Камни бери.
What am I supposed to do with stones?
Пригодятся, бери.
Although...
Во, в карман пихай, все, и пошел. Модельку посмотри, тоже можешь в карман запихнуть.
It used to be a freighter. The wide hallways, the cabins and the saloon were added later.
Нормально. Так, пойдем. Ага. Что за доска такая, тоска?
And some tips from the doctor for avoiding seasickness.
Да тут ты думаешь, что за доктора по такое?
And here, a schedule of activities. A drink with the captain. A shuffleboard competition on the forecastle. That's about it. A real barrel of...
Безумное веселье, говоришь. Ну, я знаю, что безудержное. Так, тихо.
An alarm like this one. This one hasn't been set off. I'm not paying for this trip, and that's a fair price for my cat. It's rather...
Пиздец. Обидели? Обидели чувака. Так, все, пошли к доктору. Докторскую, блин, докторапо. Пойдем подлечимся немного, может там...
Come in.
Подсыплю дальше.
Hello, Dr. Gebhardt.
Gebhardt. Немец, что ли?
And there's the next one.
Excuse me?
Я хотел на эту даму посмотреть.
I'm afraid I do.
What a first day at work. Well,
бывает тело
What's the
исследовать.
result of your examination of the victim?
she's dead.
I didn't make you work all night long, Dr. Gebhardt.
Доктор Хаттабыч.
She was shot. Point blank shot. Probably with a pistol. It seems like she was lying in bed. The shot struck her hard. She died immediately.
One
Ну,
shot?
хоть не мучилась бы.
More were unnecessary. And we only heard one shot, no?
And there's just one entrance wound.
Just one.
А в шампанском, кстати, была травушка.
I'm told that I was drugged.
That's how it seems.
What can you tell me about it?
Me? Why should that be my business?
Haven't you analyzed the glass?
No, I haven't.
А ты офигел? Тебе же сказали, блин... инспектор.
That way I could at least concentrate on the body.
Инспектор пошел посмотреть, ну ясно. Баронессу отравили-то. А кого он там увидел, кстати, когда чуть не... Ну, в самом начале, там, возле машины, свалилась, чуть не свалилась в обморок.
Of course. Can you say something about her general health?
She was quite overweight, and the butler said that she suffered from diabetes. Despite that, she hadn't visited a doctor for several years.
Doesn't sound good.
Happens more frequently than you might suppose. Some people are scared of doctors and pay with an early death. It is possible that the Baroness wouldn't have lived much longer anyway.
Еще бокал я пил, небось, с баронессовского.
What do you mean?
Captain de Conti handed me a glass of champagne. But where did he get it?
I don't know. Did you ask him?
I'm just asking because you were also in the saloon when the champagne was served.
Yes, but I only entered the saloon a few seconds before you did. I didn't manage to get a drink myself.
Which, in retrospect, is lucky.
Ah, you're right about that.
Правильно. Пить вредно.
Have you already removed the bullet?
Did Legrand send you? What is that Frenchman's problem? I already told you. I will get in touch as soon as I have it.
Ладно,
that
не
what
кипиши
I
тут.
told the constable, who he kept sending all night long. Once I finally got rid of Legrand himself.
Ну всего достали.
Did he look over your shoulder?
He probably wanted to take the scalpel from my hand and hack away himself. But this is my surgery, and I will not let amateurs interfere with my work.
That's understandable.
Чё ты взял, что это твой
How much
кабинет?
longer will it take?
Или ты судовой доктор, это ты настоящему ты на этом судне постоянно плаваешь?
Send my regards to His Majesty.
Thanks. I think that's it for now.
No. That
Sure.
is it for now, then, and later. I'm going to lie down for a few hours.
Возле
Can you
трупа
tell
прямо,
that
что
to
ли?
your boss?
У меня нету начальника, по крайней мере, здесь. Ну нифига себе взял. Выгнал,
Could
короче,
I
из
at
этого.
least have the key?
Absolutely not.
But if we have to examine the victim again...
Then the esteemed inspector knows where to find me. In my cabin. In bed. Good night, Constable Zellner.
Какой-то он мутный, блин. Давайте, короче. Так, что он там дал? Есть камешки, у меня есть
That's the
пуля.
bullet from the Baroness's corpse.
Пулю
I
дал.
don't know much about guns.
Пойдем.
Neither Dr. Gebhardt nor Constable Oliver can keep up with Legrand's pace. But in contrast to good old Robert, the doctor doesn't let himself... I wonder what would happen if Legrand dragged him out of... Dr. Gebhardt locked... Something tells me that he wouldn't... Dr. Gebhardt locked the door. Something...
Тихо, все, хватит. Я понял. Так, каюточку. Подожди. Я хочу свою хаюту, блин.
No, I've slept enough.
Да. Ладно, давай. К Леграну пойдем.
That is Legrand's cabin.
Кто там? 100 грамм. Там кто? Кто-нибудь в пальто.
Ah, Zellner, are you ready?
Ну, что
Good
ты там
morning,
уже
Inspector Legrand.
нашел?
My head is pounding, but I think I'm okay.
Chloral hydrate.
Чё?
That's why
Не
you have a
ругайся.
headache. I found traces of it in your champagne glass.
Да это ж яд.
And this chloral hydrate?
Is a tranquilizer. Can be dissolved in alcohol. The effect begins in minutes and lasts for hours. Who gave you the glass of champagne?
Капитан
I
Диконти.
believe it was Captain DeConti.
If believing were enough for us, we'd have become
Да я уверен,
policemen,
что мне
Constable.
кажется.
Be a policeman and find out for sure.
Understood. What
Что
have
там
you
по
found
обстоятельству
out so
дела?
far?
The Baroness was shot in the chest at close range. We heard the shot. The murderer quickly fled the cabin and dropped the murder weapon over the railing later. A simple story so far.
But why was her cabin door locked?
Exactly. If the murderer wanted to make it seem like a suicide, he'd have shot her in the head and left the gun at the
Вот именно. Он
grass.
хотел,
And
чтобы...
if it was murder, why did he go to all the trouble of locking the door from inside? And how did he manage
Может,
that
это вообще
anyway?
этот капитан все
Especially
устроил?
since we arrived just a few seconds later and didn't see anyone near the cabin.
Все
Something
задумал.
doesn't make sense
Может, он вообще
here.
не капитан?
No, it doesn't, and it's driving
Может,
me
капитана уже
crazy.
вздернули на рее там.
You think that the jewel thief is the murderer?
Вот.
Our friend would have needed another key to open the safe and steal the second eye, the one the Baroness was carrying.
Ну это уж слишком, тебе не кажется?
At least, that's what we implied.
What do you mean?
The Baroness was famous for her forgetfulness. I convinced her to give me the third key. It seems safer for the eye.
The thief searches the Baroness's cabin looking for the third key,
She returns from the saloon earlier than expected.
surprises him, and he can't allow her to identify him.
He
Значит, она
imprisons her
знала, кто
until
это.
the coast is clear and then shoots her.
And thus, the thief becomes a murderer.
But still doesn't have all the keys.
Так, пистолет. Что там?
Did you find the murder weapon?
On the gangway on the side of the ship. I suspect the murderer tried to drop it into the sea. He would have stood close to the railing to let it fall unseen.
And since he doesn't know the ship, he had bad luck and dropped it right onto the gangway.
Ну что он не услышал? Бэм-бэм-бэм, тут такое должно было быть.
Not
Вообще
a
глухой.
bit.
Давайте искать
Neither.
глухого на корабле.
What
Какая марка
kind of
там
a gun
оружия?
is it?
A pistol, a Luger 08.
Antique.
Не знаю такого.
Manufactured a million times during
Не, ну
and
слышал
after
точно,
the First
не
World
знаю.
War. Austrian model. The owner is David Kreutzer, the violinist. We found him tonight totally drunk on the bow of the ship. He confirmed that it's his gun, but he claims that it was stolen from him.
Прям-таки.
Nothing. But it's worth mentioning that the clip was missing 2 bullets.
А куда? А, ну ясно.
And it's definitely the murder weapon.
The ballistic tests are incomplete. Actually, I've been waiting far too long for the bullet
Так
recovered
вот
from
же
the
оно.
corpse. Pay the good doctor a visit, Zellner, and see that he does his job.
Да
About the
уже
bullet.
раздобыл
Here
я
it is.
пулю, на.
Excellent. Give it to me.
Уже все сделано.
As I
А
suspected,
тут тормозишь.
a 7.65 Parabellum.
Была еще одна пулька-то. В трюме лежит.
Don't you want to examine it in more detail?
When I have time. For now, though, we can assume that we had the murder weapon. There can't be too many antique Luger 08 pistols on board.
May I take a look at the Baroness's cabin?
We already searched it thoroughly.
Sure.
Я вам не
But what
доверяю.
about now, by daylight?
Yes, yes, fine, it can't hurt. Here, take this with you.
Спасибо. Что ты мне вернул пулю, что
Thanks.
ли?
I'll let you know if I find anything important.
But only then, please. I'm very busy.
Of course.
Of course. Так, скрипач. Что там по сейфу?
Are you sure that there's no bomb inside this time?
Professor
Кабам.
Lucien locked it in front of an audience, and it will be opened for the first time in Cairo.
Let's hope so.
It would take hours to crack it, and you'd need heavy machinery.
Or the keys.
Or the 3 keys, that's right.
Ну, 2 уже готово. Скрипач не
Do you
нужен.
believe the violinist?
He'll be the first person I question. He claims he
Пока
can't
когда
remember
протрезвеет.
anything from the last few hours. Says he drank a bottle of schnapps.
Ну, ни
He
хрена
was on the
себе.
train and he
Бутылку
doesn't have
нарыл,
an
раздавил.
alibi.
Вот.
His drunkenness could be a smokescreen.
He fits the profile. He travels a lot, has access to high society. Could be interesting.
Ясно. А ворон-то
Do
камень.
you think-
Что там?
Do you really think that the Raven is...
He wrote the letter that was on the safe in the train. Without the letter, we wouldn't have opened the safe and the bomb wouldn't have exploded.
But it doesn't seem like him, does it? The Raven was famous in part
Ну вот
because he
именно.
never hurt anyone,
Вот
much
я
less
подозревал,
killed
что ворон
anyone
очень
during a
аккуратный был.
burglary.
It's his handwriting, and he called me Nico. No one else does that. I chased that man across Europe for years. It is him. It has to be him.
It is him.
But the evidence...
Enough.
I'll be on my way. I want to find out who gave me the drugged champagne.
Good idea.
Да я знаю, я помню, можете
Inspector
прошлую
Legrand,
серию пересмотреть,
are you
что там
okay?
в своих руках принес этот чувачила,
Maybe you should
капитан.
take a break.
I can sleep once I've caught the Raven. Goodbye, Constable.
Так, блин, я
Весенний.
извиняюсь. Еще обидно, что в любой момент нельзя сделать паузу. Ну там трындел о чем-то, но я не знаю о чем. Потому что звонили. Так, подожди, он мне там что-то дал. Пакетик. А чё в нем?
These little sachets contain the evidence we've collected. At least...
Да, блин. Нахрен. Пакетик, блин. А, он мне типа дал пакетик, чтобы я туда собрал всякие эвиденсы, да? Ладно. Не, ну все, я получил разрешение на то, чтобы залезть в эту комнату. На место преступления. Вот, и поэтому там глянем. Не-не-не. А где все, кстати? Почему здесь... Блин, так хреново ходит, что тут трындец полный просто. Да, блин. Не, ну управление, конечно, корявенько.
This is the first murder scene I've ever set foot in.
Классно, повезло. Хорошо, что раньше не приходилось сталкиваться с убийствами за всю длинную жизнь. Так, здесь много чего можно исследовать. Так. Ладно. Не-не-не. Что с сигналкой?
Another alarm. It was tripped at some point. The seal is broken. But there's no way of telling whether it happened yesterday or 5 years ago. There should be a ventilation shaft behind the hatch. Usually a good way to break in and out undetected. But we're on a ship. The ventilation shafts are very small here.
Кто мелкий ходил?
I can't say why, and it seems impossible. But something tells me that the murderer entered and left the cabin through the door. The only question is how.
Tell me how. Давай-ка здесь что-то, какая-то ваза, что-то еще ж можно было изучить. Там цепочку, по-моему. Было ж дело. О, не. О.
The door frame was damaged when Dr. Gebhardt kicked it in. The real question is, why was the door locked in the first place? Assuming the murderer isn't a magician, and the Baroness locked the door herself before she went to bed, the murderer couldn't have left the cabin through the door. So, the murderer must have still been in here when Dr. Gebhardt kicked the door in. Which is unlikely because someone would have seen him. Or he found another way out of the cabin.
Ну, давайте посмотрим. Так, что в блокноте-то? Что за он такое?
The notepad has the ship's emblem on it.
Пригодится.
I suppose all the first-class cabin.
Это когда там карандаш взял. Так, что-то здесь было написано. Ага. Инспектор. Будьте в салуне, ну там где бухают, имеется в виду, в 10 p.m. 10 часов. Стоп, я не успел прочесть.
It says, Inspector, Be in the saloon at
компания.
10 p.m. There is a murderer on board, and I will expose him. B. The Baroness seems to have known the murderer,
Знает убийцу,
and
как
that
я и
means
предполагал.
that the Raven can't be the murderer. He never killed anybody. Legrand probably never got the message. Otherwise, he'd have said something.
Да. Манекен.
The mannequin surely came with the cabin. A mannequin for the Baroness's clothes would have
Ну
a
да.
more generous.
Согласен, такая дохленькая такая манекенша. Так, стой. Ну давай. Здесь здесь дофига что смотреть вообще можно. До конца серии, чувствую, будем здесь в
A
этой
big,
комнате сидеть,
ugly, and
скорее
impractical vase. If it had a wider opening, one could at least use it as an umbrella stand.
Понюхать надо. Фу, сейчас воняет.
Can't see anything. Wow, heavier than it looks.
Пух какой-то летит.
Aha.
Чё,
Why
ага?
were the down feathers tossed in the vase? Or is there anything else in there? There
Ну
may be
давай.
something else in the vase.
Рука у него коротко.
The message from the desk of Inspector, be in the saloon at 10 p.m.
Сейчас я камешков в него брошу. Хрен там не брошу. Ладно, в пень. Давайте дальше изучать здесь.
A tape recorder. Must go with the built-in
Давай
speakers.
музычку послушаем.
Probably part of the cabin's furnishings. The tape recorder is older than the hills, but it was once very expensive. Top of the range. And it doesn't come cheap.
Ну и что?
Strange. There's only one reel.
Кто-то катушечку стырил, да?
And it's the wrong one. No. No sign of the a reel made by Zeibling. I know the brand. Zeibling's tapes can be overwritten many times without losing quality. They're used in offices so that executives can record messages for the secretaries on the same tape over and over again. But they're not good for much else. They're robust, but they don't offer much in terms of sound quality.
Пригодится. Я считаю. Так, что там в шкафу у нас передвижном? Ты
The
куда?
most unportable portmanteau I've ever seen.
Трындец. И все?
There's still blood on the mattress. The sheet and the blanket have already been removed. To analyze them, I suppose.
Ну, надо же обыскать. Ну, такой взмахнул руками. Такой, обыскивать это? Не. Хочу.
Nothing. The blood spot is the only sign that someone committed a crime in here. Somehow...
Как-то низковато это
That's
пятно.
odd. The blood is so red. Shouldn't it gradually darken in the air?
Ну
Turn
да,
brown?
вот вообще согласен. А что это? Может, это
The
доебитесь?
unusual color of the blood could be something that Legrand... All cats are gray in the dark.
Давай возьмем образец. Хер там. Чем я возьму образец, блин? Чем я сообщение?
The unusual color... All cat... These little sachets contain the evidence we've collected. The unusual color. All cats are gray in the dark.
Так как я возьму пакетик этот?
These little sachets contain...
Херня. Трындец, вот управление для передвижного шкафа вообще хрен где расположили. Что там нашел уже? Ну этот глюк вообще прикольный.
A portable bar is more like it.
О, баронесса
Must be hard
любила
work transporting
дернуть
this
хорошенько.
big heavy thing halfway around the globe. And the Baroness was lucky that the other freight cars were only lightly damaged by the explosion.
Угу. Блин. Это занимает кучу времени. Ну это бред, конечно.
An impressive piece, but I don't think...
Да, все. Хватит, да. Лазу на невезучем. Ё-моё, здесь еще лазить и лазить. Ёшкин ты кот. А, пуховые перья еще можно изучить. Но мы уже доизучаем все в этой кабине.
Nothing special. Although, it seems like one of the feathers was scorched at the top. Literally burnt.
Карман.
I'd better take it with me.
Да, ну положил. А, пакетик. Ну-ка, под кроваткой там что?
Something's under there. More feathers. And they're singed as well. I'll put them with the others.
Хорошо. Это интересно. Что с картиной?
Sunflowers. By Van Gogh,
А,
I
мои
presume. He
подсолнухи.
liked to paint that sort of thing. Can't be an original. They cost thousands of francs.
Ну, естественно, откуда здесь оригинал? Наркоман, что ли? Что у нас тут?
The
Иллюминатор.
portholes face the side deck. If someone climbed out of the cabin through a porthole, Legrand and I would have...
Ну да.
The portholes are locked. One cannot open or
Да,
close
снаружи
them
не
from
залезешь.
outside. It's the same problem as with the door. If someone left the cabin
Да
through
баронесса
the
встала,
porthole,
заперла и умерла
how
потом.
did they lock it?
Все ж
And the
понятно.
Baroness wasn't shot from outside. The doctor said she was shot at close range.
Не, ну она знала, кто ты такой. Так, что в багаже там?
Apparently, the Baroness didn't have time to unpack her bags.
Ну, конечно,
Or
пришла,
rather,
напилась и
didn't
сразу
have
убили.
time to tell her butler to unpack them for her. But here...
Кстати, да, самое интересное.
Ah,
Что это?
a
Чё ты кинул?
small leather-bound book. 1964 is
О,
engraved
дневник
on
это
it.
трындец.
This
Там
must be
можно
the
читать и
Baroness's
читать
diary.
долго, походу, да?
Let's see. Yes, it's a diary, all right. Difficult to
Diary,
read.
ча-ча-ча.
No entry from yesterday.
Логично, умерла ведь.
A brief, sober description of what she's done recently. Met Morris, arranged benefit concert for renovation of Louvre Southeastern Wing, Times photo shoot for Eye of Sphinx, BM, poor excuse for photographer, too fidgety,
Ну что?
and so on.
Короче, бреда всякого.
This entry looks strange. The handwriting is shaky, difficult to read. Dreamt of Bubby. Yesterday would
Кто
have
это
been
такой,
his
блин? Что
birthday.
за баби такие?
Next week, Jay's. The Baroness was a very busy woman. She writes about Bubby and Jay. Neither seem to be alive anymore. Almost every family lost loved ones in the war. Maybe hers as well. I'll leave
Давай.
it there. I don't have time to read all.
Давай еще сумочку.
Cosmetics, a handkerchief, a spectacles case. Nothing special.
И все. Так, ну здесь у нас не так-то бы уже, чтобы... Камешки мы ни на что не применим, да? Не, подожди. Так, ну. Камешки. Не, на что применить не можем. Пень, поэтому уходим к нашему Лагранжу. Лазу. Неинтересно там изучать. С нечем. Да блин, что ты крутишься как коза? Больше-то идти особо. О! Здорово. Что-то ты нервничаешь. Походу, а, дружок?
The Baroness's butler looks like he didn't get much sleep.
Наверное, не спал всю ночь, вот ты заспанный.
Hello, Mr. Inch.
Oh, Constable, hello.
Типа только сейчас заметил.
It must be terrible for you.
Quite terrible. No one will hire me now.
Excuse me?
My mistress was murdered. Would you hire a butler who's been mixed up in a murder?
But if it turns out that you're not guilty...
If. But what if not? Who else would they blame? There are no gardeners on this ship.
I understand your problem. Under these circumstances, I'm sure you'd answer some questions that could help clear your name, wouldn't you?
Of course.
Так, давай-ка расскажи про
Did you
вчерашний
notice
вечер.
anything suspicious last night?
No, sir. After the Baroness went to the saloon, I went to the forecastle. I was there until the alarm went off. I went to the side deck and arrived shortly after Professor Lucien and Miss Miller. We found you and Inspector Legrand there. You were unconscious, and the inspector asked us to take care of you.
Про
Did you hear
выстрел
the
чё?
gunshot?
No, just the alarm, sir.
Да,
You
су-
said you were on the forecastle. It sounded like the Baroness let you have the rest of the night off.
Not entirely, sir. One of the crew informed me that the Baroness wanted to be roused at 10:15.
Right. Why was that?
I suppose
Да она сама там
that she
говорила.
wanted to toast the success of the journey with the captain and the other
Она уже
passengers.
She hadn't
нажралась там
intended to
по-страшному.
take a nap then.
That was not her way, sir. She had a lot of spirit, shall we say, when it came to social engagements and a glass or two of champagne.
The Baroness's
Перевернутая
cabin seems to
каюта.
have been ransacked.
Indeed, sir, by the Baroness herself.
Really?
She was searching for something the entire afternoon.
And did she find it?
I think she did, sir, yes. She was in high spirits when she finally left her cabin.
You wouldn't happen to know what she was looking for, would you?
I'm afraid not.
Would you
Организованная
describe the
женщина.
Baroness as orderly?
Well, she always had a lot of responsibilities, sir.
That doesn't answer my question.
She used to take a lot of luggage on journeys, and I helped her keep track of it as best I could. She was always very angry when she couldn't find something.
What about the photos and the documents I saw in her cabin?
I really don't know. They were out of bounds to me, sir. Memories from the war, I'd say. They meant a lot to her.
Много
The
пила, да?
Baroness seemed to be pretty drunk the last time I saw her.
Is that so?
Does that surprise you? Did the Baroness not drink?
Oh, yes, she drank. It was no secret.
I understand. How serious was her habit?
Serious enough, sir.
Was she under any medical supervision?
Certainly not, sir. She adamantly refused to see a doctor. Like so many elderly women, she had a distinct aversion to hospitals and the like.
Ну и как
How
ты там
long had you
работал?
worked
Последний
for the
вопрос тебе
Baroness?
явно, да?
6 months, sir.
Only
Немного.
6 months. I always thought that butlers stayed with their employers for decades.
Those decades have to start at some point, Constable.
А не ворон ли
The
ты?
former butler wasn't able to fulfill his duties any longer. Gout, sir.
I understand.
I took on his duties and hoped for a secure position for the next 20 years.
Неуклюжая
May
рука.
I
точно.
ask what happened to your arm?
A souvenir from the war, sir.
Doesn't it hinder your work?
Yes, sir, obviously.
I didn't mean to offend you.
The Baroness had a soft spot for disabled veterans. I think she'd been through a lot herself.
Ну,
I
рука
think that's
неуклюжая,
all for
я не
now.
знал.
Please, sir, find the murderer. You have to clear me of all suspicion.
Ясно, с ним больше не о чем говорить. Ну что, тут уже за 40 минут мы уже зашли, играем, поэтому продолжим уже в следующей серии. Тут что-то непонятно, какие-то вообще творятся, что запуталось, какие-то перья появились, вообще какая-то там ваза, это вообще непонятно. Вот. Ну, надеюсь, следующая серия откроет нам завесу тайны. Что ж, спасибо, что смотрели, надеюсь, понравилось. Всем самого наидоброго, самого наилучшего. С вами был Юра, пока-пока.